Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm back with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm very excited because this is my first layout using her brand new Truly Grateful collection. I'm also going to use one of her newer cut files. This one's called Fish Background, and it's actually one of the freebies that she gave away a few days ago over on the Facebook group, the Happy Scrappy Place. So I'm going to do just a quick shuffle of some of the papers here in this new collection. Paige hit it out of the park again. It's stunning. It's beautiful. The colors are amazing. So many different variety of patterns. Of course, you're going to get lots of florals and leaves, some butterflies, that gorgeous sunburst paper again. And there's a lot of fall elements and images and sentiments. But honestly, you could do any style of layout for this. And obviously I'm going to make a summer layout because I'm going to use that fish cut file. So I'm going to show you how you can use this for summer instead of fall if, you know, you're in the mood to make something summery, which I always am. So anyway, I cut the fish out on white textured cardstock and I made it pretty big. And then when I looked at it, I thought, where are my photos gonna go? I don't really need big photos. So I printed out two because I thought I might be able to tuck two photos in kind of right there. I wound up using only one because I just did not want to cover up those fish. They are adorable. And once I get going with this, I love how they look even more. So this is the 6x8 paper pad from Truly Grateful. And the fun thing about this is obviously you get some smaller patterns, but you also are going to get some of the gold and copper colored foil on there. And it's going to look really, really pretty. I'm going to use this pink one there that I just pulled out that's got some shiny foil on there. And that's going to look really cool behind one of the fish because it's going to look like shimmery fish scales. And I thought that turned out really cool. I'm also going to use some of the loose 12x12 papers to back the fish. And this cut file, since I cut it pretty big and because of the water lines and bubbles, it's pretty delicate. So I had to be careful kind of flopping it around, but I went with the tracing option for backing the cut file. All I did was flip it over backwards and then find the paper I wanted and then flip that over to the back side, stick it behind the actual shape and then trace it, cut it out, and then I'm just going to glue it to the back of the fish. There's a couple of different ways to back cut files. This was just my choice for this one since there's so many spots to back. And again, the cut file's kind of, you know, flimsy because it's so delicate. I didn't want to just stick a big sheet of paper behind it and then have to fussy cut around it afterwards because I just feel like I might have ripped the cut file or it might have tore. So that's why I went with the trace and fussy cut option. And this did take a while, but I think once it's done, it turned out really, really pretty and bright. And I was able to get lots of colors and different patterns behind all the fish. So there we go. It's pretty much finished there. That's the photo that I'm going to use. And I'm going to wind up cutting that one little fish off of the line so he's not covered up. But so at this point I knew right away that I needed to make my own background on some white cardstock. And so this is thick white smooth cardstock, and I'm going to coat the whole thing with clear gesso because since I have all these colorful fish, I thought what more perfect background than to make basically an ocean background. And so I pulled out Paige's. This is one of her newer stencils. It's called Polka Dots, and I knew right away I had to use it on this because it's going to make the perfect water bubbles or fish air bubbles, whatever you want to call them. But they add so much fun texture to this background, and I absolutely adore how it turned out. So I'm using some modeling paste and a palette knife to just basically scrape the paste right over the stencil onto the background. And if you've never used modeling paste, it's pretty thick and kind of creamy, and it dries pretty hard, and so it's going to be very textury is not a word, textured, and it's going to be raised up off the page, and when you touch it, it's going to feel nice and bumpy, and it just adds so much interest to the background. And so I let that dry. You can kind of see the different areas there where the little circles are. And right now it just looks like splotches of paste. But once I start to add the color and get going here, you're going to really see those circles appear. All right, so I'm going to use my favorite go-to colors from shimmers here. I'm going to use, let's see, Jenny B Blue. I'm going to use a newer, brighter blue, more of a royal blue color called In Deep. I'm going to use some Well Blue Me Down, just all different shades of different blues and aquas here. And I'm just spraying it right onto the paper, spritzing it with some water, and then just turning the paper this way and that way and letting the colors run and blend and just sort of spread and bleed together, because I want to cover the whole background. I'm not looking for perfection here because the fish are going to go back on top of it. But I wanted this, I wanted it to look, you know, like water in different, you know, different parts of the ocean or different colors, and depending on when the sun hits it. So I thought it would be pretty to kind of mix and match some blues here. And I'm just using my finger to kind of smudge it around toward the edge of each side there. And yeah, it's really fun to watch the colors sort of spread and bleed around the texture paste there. That's always sort of like a magical thing to watch, because you just kind of instantly watch the shapes appear when all the color kind of pools around it. This is a darker blue color called Deep Blue Sea, and I thought that having a little bit of a darker blue around where my photo is going to go would make it pop a little more. So anyway, it's almost dry. You can also see the streaks where I smudged the gesso on in the beginning, and I think that just adds to the interest to the background. It makes it look like water. Okay, so you can see how this looks different once I put the fish back on top of it. Instantly changes how the background looks versus how it looks with nothing on it. But what I decided to do was I wanted to make the dots or the air bubbles stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to lightly dab some white acrylic paint on top of them using my little ink foam blending tool there. So I'm just kind of lightly dabbing the foam into the paint and then lightly dabbing it right on top of the paste. And so it's just going to really make those dots sort of come to life and look like little air bubbles in the water. And the more I went with this background, the more excited I got. I have to say, I think this is one of my most favorite layouts I've made in a while, simply because I just had the most fun making it. I mean, it really was fun. I love making backgrounds like this, and especially when it comes together exactly like I had it in my mind. So this is another way to use a stencil. You can just put the stencil right on top of the background and then smudge some paint through it. And I'm using the same foam blending tool there, the same acrylic paint. And I thought that, you know, I would just add more air bubbles here in the water, because why not? You know, there's going to be a lot of fish there and they're probably blowing air bubbles. Yeah, that's probably not how it happens. But in my mind, the fish are blowing bubbles. Yeah. So we're going to add some foam behind all these fish because I want to add more dimension. I want them to be popped up off the page. And so the foam is going to do that for me. I'm just cutting it into different sizes. Pretty much done there. So now let's see what it looks like. It's upside down. Okay, now it's right. I love how this is looking. And it's so textured when you touch it and look at it. Very, very fun background. Okay, so I'm going to cut this little fish off because it was mostly covered up and I want to overlap it on top of the photo. So that's how that's going to work. I feel like that's the best place for my picture there, where not a lot of the fish are covered up, because, you know, they're the most fun part of this page. So I want them to stand out. So now I know everything's pretty much done on the background. I know that the fish are going to go right where they are. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue behind there. And I'm using the Scotch Tacky Glue in my fine liner bottle there. I love that glue. It works perfectly every time. And when it dries, things are stuck. They're not going anywhere. So look how that pink paper shimmers with the little gold foil on there. Love that. All right, so now I'm going to work on everything else. I'm going to add a little bit of tissue paper behind my photo there, just to add some kind of layer behind the photo. And then, of course, I need to make it even with the fish, so I'm going to add some foam behind the photo. And then I really love this paper. I use parts of this paper here to back some of the fish with. And on the back of it are these really cute little mini suns. So I cut a sun out. Even though this is not a sky, I just felt compelled to use a sun. And so we're going to put a sun in this ocean. These I'm so excited about. We get some sequins in the Truly Grateful collection. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to use some of these sequins on these fish because they're going to look kind of like fish scales. And I don't add a ton of them. I just kind of add a couple of sequins here and there on each fish just to add some sparkle and some texture. And you can kind of see them there. They kind of change color depending on what color paper I put them on. And I just realized, well, actually not at this point, after I photographed this and sent my layout off to Paige, that I totally forgot to back the tail of the fish in the upper left-hand corner. I never even caught that. I don't know why. I had every intention of fully backing the entire fish, and I didn't even realize it until way after the fact. But you probably wouldn't even have noticed it if I hadn't have brought it up, but had to say it because it was bugging me. It's bugging me now, but I'm not going to go back and fix it because it's completely done. I've taken pictures of it, and maybe that fish's tail is just transparent and see-through. That's what I'm going to go with. Yeah. So I added some darker blue thread behind the photo on both sides because I wanted to kind of pull in that darker blue color from that fish that I was just talking about. And then I wanted to add some pops of bright pink up at the top. So we're going to back this sun. Why do I keep saying we're? I don't know why I'm saying we're. It's just me, right? Yes. I am going to back this little sunshine with some pink thread just because I love thread and I wanted a pop of pink up there. So that's where that thread is going. And then I am obsessed with these epoxy stickers from Truly Grateful, and I had to use that blue. I love that blue color. I love the font. So pretty. So my title's going to be Summer Magic, even though you just saw me make a split decision there. I wanted to keep the dark blue going, so I pulled out those little mini thickers from the Pick Me Up collection. Didn't like how that looked up there. Pulled them off, and then I went with the white ones. And so I thought I wanted a small white title to go with the word magic. And then, yeah, that's where the title's going to go. I felt like I needed some more suns, so I cut a couple more suns out and basically just used them as pops of yellow and little details there. You know, obviously there's not going to be a sun in the ocean, but we don't always have to be realistic in scrapbooking, you know. Feel free to stick a random sun in your water. Now here, I did fussy cut this from one of the 2x2 paper pads. It says, I think you're pretty amazing. It's pretty small, but I wanted something in that area right there. Nothing too crazy, nothing too big, because I didn't want some big embellishment there to take away from the fish. I wanted the blue water to kind of separate each fish. So there's still some, you know, separation between all that color. But anyway, there's the final layout. I love how this turned out. Off camera, I did add a little bit of journaling with a pink pen over to the left. Wasn't a lot of smooth space to write, so I had to find a space that did not have modeling paste on it, because you can't write on top of that. But yeah, this was so much fun. I love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got some fun ideas, and I hope you'll attempt to make a summer layout using the Truly Grateful collection, because it was so much fun to make. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did, anything that I might have forgotten to say. Yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend.